1 minute after the top of the hour, and we are ready to begin. Thank you everyone for joining us for Software Robots from RPA to Digital Workforce. My name is Michael Krudikov. I will be your host for today's event. I'm really excited about having this excellent topic, and joining me today are Georgi and Dimitri. If you could take a moment to introduce yourselves, please.
Okay, so hello, thank you very much for giving the opportunity to speak today. I'm Georgi, I'm Head of Product Development in ElectroNeek.
Excellent. Thanks, Georgi, for joining us. Dimitri?
Hey everyone, my name is Dimitri Karpov. I'm co-founder and Chief Strategy Officer of ElectroNeek, and will be happy to share the insights today.
Excellent. Thank you, Dimitri, and thank you both for joining us. I'm actually going to kind of get out of the way, and I'll turn it over to the experts here. So we've done our introduction, and then we'll turn it over actually to Georgi, if you want to go ahead and share your screen and take us through the next part.
Okay, so well, before we start speaking about the main topic, let us briefly explain what ElectroNeek is about as a company. So ElectroNeek works with IT service providers, and our mission is to empower their business based through RPA technology. Unlike some enterprise vendors in the RPA market that are focused only on the technological aspect of the business, we focus on all sides of what it takes to be successful in the market. So fine, if you're an IT service provider new to automation, you will be able to learn how to use this technology. But what if you don't know how to sell it? What if you don't know how to build a sales team around it, for example? What if you don't know how to do on the marketing side? What if you don't know how to approach clients to offer you services based on the RPA technology? And what if you don't know how to identify business processes suitable for automation? In that case, you will not be able to succeed. So this is why we have the as we call them, hubs in our platform. So you can see on the screen that we have a business hub, an automation hub, a service hub, and this is how we see the development of our platform in general. So, but if we speak about the technologies that we put to the platform, we'll end up speaking about RPA and what surrounds it. So let's start with the first question. What is RPA? Let me switch my screen. So a reasonable question that could be asked with respect to RPA is, fine, if I take any programming language, eventually I will be able to build whatever I want. And it will be some sort of automation. So why is RPA that popular? Indeed, if you're an advanced programmer, you will have a lot of doubts about it. But even if you're an advanced programmer, how much time will you spend automating some legacy applications with no API and say in conjunction with some, I don't know, cloud system, emails, files, and whatever. So even if you're a master asynchronous programming, I don't know, classes and programming patterns like Solid and so on, you'll end up spending months just creating something that will be able to at least click on the elements in this, say, legacy application. And the funny thing is that you'll eventually build your own RPA system. So historically, the popularity of the RPA technology was based on the ability to interact with all types of applications through the interface level. And that was a lifesaver even for advanced developers. But the demand didn't really stop there. With time, RPA platforms started attaching more and more technologies around the default, let's say, clicker and picker. And this was a kind of response to the changes in the business process, which became much more complex and advanced. Now it's not enough to just click or just to be able to click on elements or do things like this. Maybe you would like to export some data to some third-party system. Maybe you would like to take some scans and intelligently process them. So roughly speaking, processes now involve a lot of different technologies, starting from OCR, then data extraction, web scraping, system-related things, computer vision, voice recognition, and so on. So essentially, RPA platforms started to incorporate these technologies. And you can see on the screen on the left side how many different, and I speak about this side, how many different technologies related to, how many activities related to different technologies we have. So this is what an RPA platform is about. And here's where we'd like to say that ElectroNeek is almost ready to work just like a human employee. And let's take a human with eyes, voice, hands, brain. All these work together when we do things on a computer, and we're talking about humans. But what if I say that a digital worker could be a real full-time employee in your company? So if a digital worker has everything from the list, they can perform the same things in general. Let's take a look and let's match, say, the human capabilities with the real technologies that we spoke about above. So let's start with a really simple example. Let's start with, say, hands. So what do we do with hands on the computer? Obviously, we, I don't know, click on some elements, type some text into some specific like forms and things like this. Do some basic operations on the interface level. Is it possible to do in ElectroNeek? 100%. If you take a look on the screen, we have so many different activities related to interaction with interface and simulating human input in the system. Say clicking, we have it in the desktop applications, we have it in the web applications as well. We have activities like set checkbox state, which is an input as well, select list item, and so on. So it is possible to do with ElectroNeek already. So now let's talk about eyes, for example. What are you doing with your eyes? Obviously, you're reading some information. You're getting some information from the from different sources. Is it possible to do with ElectroNeek? 100%. We also have a lot of activities related to that, like read checkbox states. For example, let me find. It's about, yes, get element property and things like this. So we already have it and it's already possible. But now let's talk a little bit about a different thing. So let's speak about brain. I think if we try to deconstruct the question, it's fair to say that if we're automating a process that doesn't really require any creative decision making, the first two human, let's say, capabilities, senses will be enough. So and indeed, I mean, if you can describe an algorithm with a simple flow chart and just follow the steps precisely, it doesn't really require brain. So when do we use it? Essentially, we use it when we have to analyze a lot of different data that comes in different form, shape, format, style, formatting and style, and so on. So, for example, let's take a look at an invoice. So in this invoice, we have, and let's suppose that in your business process, you have to deal with a lot of invoices of different, say, formats. On this invoice, you can see that the invoice number is located on the right side, the address is on the left side, and so on. But we may have invoices where the invoice number would be on the left side, where the table would have not 4 columns, but 5 or 3 columns, and so on. So there are different invoices. Is it possible for you to process it as a human? 100%. It is simple for you because it's like a very intuitive operation. You're already used to that. You can easily determine the pattern and understand that, hey, this is probably an email. This is probably a phone number. This is easy for you to understand. But what about technologies? Obviously, it's not an easy thing to describe the variety of possible combinations in a simple flow chart. It's impossible, let's be honest. So this is where we speak about brain related to technologies. And in that case, it is also possible to do with ElectroNeek. So if we take a look at the list of activities that we have activities related to the so-called data extraction. This is not just taking a text, like readable text from a scan. It's just precisely about extracting data intelligently. For example, if we take a look at the recognition of the invoice that I showed on the screen previously, if I run the bot, it is going to launch the recognition. It is going to connect to let me stop sharing invoice, the noise. Yes, so it is recognizing the content, and it's going to pop up a message to me that the invoice number is sent to, so we can see that we can intelligently process the content and create a lot of possible combinations, what we can do after that. And it's already possible to do. On top of that, I would like to add that, let me stop the bot. I would like to add that we are about to launch another product, a brand new product, which is related to the class of systems called IDP, Intelligent Document Processing. This product is going to be called IntelliDocs, and this is where you will only need to just feed the data to the document and to the product, and the data extraction process is going to be handled on the machine side. You don't need to do anything for that. You will only need to decide what to do with the data afterwards. So this is something that we're about to launch. And we're going to bring a lot of other tools related to this kind of intelligent processing of data. Finally, let's speak about a voice. Are you familiar with a use case where you might have a bunch of audio recordings and you have to kind of extract it into the text form and do something with this and probably classify it? So let's take a simple audio recording, for example, this one. Let me play it.
Oh, he has been away from New York. He has been all around the world. He doesn't know many people here, but he's very sociable and he wants to know everyone.
So it's a simple recording. I took it from the internet just for the sake of demonstrating. And we don't have a tool right now, but if we launch, for example, some known third-party voice recognition system and just recognize the content, we'll be able to get results like this that you're gonna see on the screen. So we have the full text on the screen, and on top of that, we also see the kind of confidence with which the system returns the result. So we're able to also understand whether we should trust this information. Maybe we should, I don't know, verify it, or maybe run through another cycle of recognition and improve the results. So we're also set to bring a tool like this in the future. We have it in our roadmap. So we spoke about different capabilities in general, and obviously you don't work separately and independently. You don't use your hands independently of your brain. Everything happens on an intuitive level. You can easily coordinate your actions. The very same thing can be done with our RPA platform. So this is essentially a role of an RPA platform. In an easy way, bring different pieces, that is technologies, that is human capabilities together. And as you can see, because of that, ElectroNeek is almost ready to become a full human employee for you. And next part, I would like to pass my word to Dmitry. Why would you need this employee?
Yeah, and Dimitri, before you begin, we actually do have some questions that have started to pop up. As a reminder, there is, of course, the Q&A, and you can use the chat if you want to send us a direct message privately as well. But as a reminder, yes, the Q&A. Actually, Georgi, this question, I believe, applies directly to, I believe, the IntelliDocs that you were referring to. And the question comes in, it says, can you extract table items as easily as the header items?
The connectors that we have allow you to do so. And in the tool that we're going to bring in the IntelliDocs product, yes, we're going to have it. So you will just need to define what I would like to extract. Probably, I don't know, table items or maybe invoice number without table items and things like this, and you will get it. So yeah, it is possible.
Okay, excellent.
Thank you, team. Georgi, thank you so much for the analogy. And I think this analogy is very, is very important to think about, as some of you are entering the business or already in the business of developing RPA bots in the future digital workforce. And those of you who are considering implementing this internally in your company with the service provider. Let me unpack this a bit. Yes, RPA implementation in very early days started as classic professional service time and materials business. Billing rates, some fixed fees, because pretty much it was very close to development process. You do essentially custom software development in this case with all the capabilities of the future digital workforce. But what we see in the market, and I want to talk about, is the evolution of this model as, okay, we augmenting human labor, and we can augment more and more, essentially coming up to the digital workforce in the long run. So how do you monetize something that augments human labor? You can, of course, stick to old-time time and materials model, but and we increasingly see that among our partners and our customers that there is more desire for those who invest in building the workforce to present it to the clients, and also clients are very receptive to this concept as essentially digital staffing agency. Because you are, when you augment human labor to the great extent, you essentially just do something quicker than humans can do. How you price that, how you build a business model around it. What if you assume that you are already in the business of digital workforce, and essentially you are staffing either your client or outsourcing the processes inside your company. How would you price it? The same way you will price the human labor. You wouldn't, if you're a staffing agency, not digital classic staffing agency, you would not sell your services based on the time it takes to set up the process on your side. You will price it based on the cost of execution on your side plus some margin. So why wouldn't you adopt this model today? And essentially, we talked a lot in the past about RPA by subscription. For some of you, it's a bit complex concept, but what if you take the prism of the technology approach that Georgi unpacked for you and think about this? Okay, I just want to do the job for the client, the job that my clients want to automate. How much do they spend on this today? Can I offer them a better hourly rate or daily rate or monthly rate for that, as I would have if I will outsource this process on my side? And I know at least 3 companies among us who are essentially came to the automation business with the staffing agency background. They usually work with offshore, and in the past, they were able to win work from SMBs by offering them the lower rate for the part-time jobs that otherwise would require hiring inside the United States or Canada. And they started to introduce bots in the work of their internal employees, and essentially started to decrease the rate to become more competitive, because now they don't need to pay to their employees for all the work, because majority of work is done by bots. Yes, there is still human involved. So you can think about this kind of hybrid model where, okay, RPA bots are not humans. You can sell as staff to other companies their services. But what if you augment bots that do part of the job and humans that do part of the job, and blend them in one billing rate, hourly rate or daily rate or monthly rate, whatever works for you and your client? And I think this is a very important mentality to take on as you think about evolution of your business model and as you think about growing your recurring revenue. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Dmitry. Really great concepts there around how we're taking the bots and implementing them and supplementing human capabilities as well. That actually is one of the questions that came in that context, is how is it going to be processed by the RPA platform, and how is it going to be connected and it says here like recognition, clicking and picking. So this I think goes back to Georgi's part where he was talking about that. Georgi, can you take this question for us, please?
Yes, and actually this is very related to the next 2 questions that we have in the chat. So yes, answering the question in the chat. So IntelliDocs is going to be a new product, and it is not going to be an extension in some of the existing products. Speaking about the timelines, we are now developing it. I think that we are set to release it in the next 2-3 months, probably earlier. But speaking about the how it is going to fit our platform, this is a really great question, because how we see it in general is that, for example, what you build in Studio, it is like a workflow, right? So it's an algorithm workflow you need to execute. IDP, I mean, feeding the data, getting the results done, it's also some sort of workflow. Yes, it's simple. Yes, it's related only to document processing, but it's a workflow. And that, a lot of other tools that we're going to bring, they're also workflow-like. So our long-term vision for that is that what you're going to be able to build is a combination of different little, maybe not super little workflows. So for example, you have a process related to document recognition, data extraction. This is one little workflow. You would like to probably combine it and pass the data from this workflow to, say, a bot created in Studio and uploaded to Orchestrator. Then you probably would like to connect it to some other workflow. This workflow-based approach is something that we globally see. So just finishing my speech about the IntelliDocs product, yes, it is going to be a separate product, and you're going to have a lot of ways on how you can connect this product with the ElectroNeek ecosystem, and actually not only ElectroNeek ecosystem. So you will be able to integrate it with a lot of other projects and so on. So yeah, this is the answer to the question.
Okay, yeah, great. Thanks, Georgi. And again, if you would like to ask any questions, we can enter those into the Q&A. as well, you can just send us a chat. And we have another one that came in from chat, and this is talking about difficulties to expect or things to look out for with the RPA process. And in case there's a website problem or an application or other known or unknown problems, what are some challenges that our audience can really kind of expect and how to overcome those?
Well, one of the, it's actually a typical question. One of the well-known problems with RPA processes is that they need to have the ability to adapt to some interface elements that may change from time to time. So we do not dictate the interface elements how to, react to how to behave. It's actually that we depend on how they behave. So we need to be able to adapt. In ElectroNeek, we already have actually a lot of ways to adapt to dynamical nature of some elements. Some elements have it. And on a global level, we are looking to build an instrument that is capable of interacting with all possible types of elements and doing this in a universal manner and providing with a nice, understandable and simple flow to the end user. So the end user doesn't have to think about this dynamic nature. The end user is not supposed to think about it. We don't want the end user to think about it. So roughly speaking, this is how we see the situation on this side.
Okay, perfect. We have time for one more question. As we promised, we'll get you out of here on time. And while we do that, actually want to invite you to our next upcoming webinar. It is going to be Hypergrowth for RPA Service Providers with ElectroNeek. Some good tactics and strategy items there. And we have time for one more question, as I promised. And I think maybe this is for Georgi or maybe Dimitri. This is saying, how do you see the RPA future in general? I think this is asking a little bit about kind of the technology side, but maybe the market side as well. Could you speak to that for us, please?
From my subjective point of view, if you ask me, I think that the tendency that we spoke about before in terms of the business processing being more complex and consisting of different stages is what we're going to see in the future. And this is why we have the so-called workflow, and this is how we call it, the workflow-based approach. So it fits the paradigm and that we spoke about. And so if our platform, say, has the human capabilities that we covered today, it will essentially turn to an employee doing different things on a daily basis. So this is why we want to provide this ability to construct different workflows in different places and be able to bring them together easily, or, for example, replace one part with some other part of the workflow. So, roughly speaking, this is how I see it.
Okay. Dimitri?
In my vision, the RPA essentially is a workflow on steroids because of the GUI automation and integration capabilities it currently has. And it will remain a workflow. Workflow essentially means the logic of the process. But the capabilities, the automation steps themselves, today they can be simple, like click on something. But as we see, as the capabilities evolve, the steps will become much more complex. Could be make a decision, could be something like this. And we don't know, honestly, in 10 years, what technologies, what features will be parts of the step, but we know that it will be a workflow. So if you're entering the business, I think one of the technology training things that you need to be excellent in, whatever the evolution of RPA will be, is the logic itself. You need to be able to construct the logic of the process, no matter what complexity of the process is. And I think that many IT service companies who enter the market, they kind of in the beginning are not great in doing so. They would like client to present them the logic of the process. I think over time, you need to be able to work with your clients to capture the process logic. And process mining, task mining would not help you much in the future, honestly, if you cannot work with the basic logic of the process. And then you will be building this in RPA, and RPA will be essentially the workflow that connects a lot of automation tools together. I really like it's more complex case, but what does it mean to implement industrial warehouse robotics at this moment, physical robotics? It means you need to integrate it into warehouse management system, and majority of mid-market companies that are sitting on legacy applications to manage their warehouse logistics. So you would need GUI automation and RPA now to integrate physical robots to make them actually practical in your specific warehouse. And there will be more and more cases like that over time. So the logic and the workflow will remain. The steps in the process will be very different from what you have today.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, Dmitry. Great to have the experts on the call. Once again, huge thanks to everyone joining us live. And for those of you watching the replay, I hope you enjoyed it as well. And thank you especially to Georgi and Dmitry. And for any questions that we did not get to, we will follow up with you after the event. So thank you for the interaction and the engagement, and we'll see you next time.